A delusional New York judge had the audacity to tell an attorney during trial, when he brought up the Second Amendment during his opening statement, mind you, do not bring the Second Amendment into this courtroom. It doesn't exist here. So you can't argue Second Amendment. This is New York.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Ma'am, it's New York, a state in America with a constitution, not Sparta, where you can just Leonidas front kick amendments you don't like out of the Constitution.
This is Sparta!
But this is indeed what a judge in the United States of America said to the attorney of a man who was on trial for building guns in his own home under the Constitution. That man's name is Dexter Taylor.
Yeah, okay. So some time ago, I became interested in gunsmithing. Ever since I was a kid, I really, like most kind of red-blooded American kids, I was interested in guns and, tanks and fighter planes and because it was cool, And so, but maybe 3-4 years ago, maybe I became really interested in gunsmithing, and I thought this would be a really cool thing to do, really traditional and really kind of and possibly even leading to a second career. I've been a software developer forever, but I also make stuff. And so anyway, fast forward a bit. I started actually building weapons. I started building firearms. So, I learned from guys like Marine gun builder, right, who builds pistols, 80% pistols. It's like I found out that, you can actually legally buy a receiver and you can machine that receiver to completion, and you buy your parts and you put together and you've got a pistol or a rifle. And once I saw that, I was hooked. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. This is the most cool thing you could possibly do in your machine shop, because I have a machine shop in my basement. And so, I make furniture and I make different stuff, and that's a whole other story. But anyway, I started doing that, and there was no subterfuge. It's like I bought them on my credit cards under my name because they were my weapons that I built. And at a certain point, the state of New York took an interest. And in April of 2022, a joint SWAT ATF task force raided my house, like broke down my door and everything. And it was. I remember it's like April 6th, was it? Yeah. And I'd gone to bed listening to an audiobook, woke up and I heard voices that were not the audiobook, and then I heard a bang. And then I heard, where my police don't warm it up, that kind of sound, and I saw weapon lights flickering under the door of my bedroom. So first thing I did was I said, hello, hello, hello. I thought they had the wrong place, because it never occurred to me that someone quietly sitting at home manufacturing rifles or pistols or whatever would be a problem that New York State was like, we've got to go and get this. It just never occurred to me that anyone would come up in my house like that. Like, I have a clean criminal record.
Unfortunately, the jury in Taylor's case was just as delulu as the judge, because they found him guilty, and now he's in jail on Rikers Island.
Rikers Island, New York's massive jail complex, just a few miles from Midtown Manhattan, and scene of a humanitarian crisis.
What are some words you'd use to describe Rikers Island?
Hell. Plain and simple.
How would you describe the conditions at Rikers Island?
The conditions at Rikers Island have been inhumane.
Waiting to be sentenced in the court of the same judge who during the trial told Taylor's attorney that the Second Amendment doesn't exist here. That judge is Abina Darka, or however you say her name. I'm just gonna call her Abracadabra, since she thinks she can magically eliminate whole constitutional amendments. If you ask me, the person that needs to be in jail is the judge. Imagine a judge in a First Amendment case saying, don't bring the First Amendment into this courtroom, it doesn't exist here. People would lose their mind. Yet a judge says these exact words about the Second Amendment and no one says anything. What's truly pathetic and disheartening is that Actual criminals in New York treat the legal system like a revolving door.
We're arresting the same people over and over again. We identified 716 people who are responsible for 30% of the shooting incidents last year. And frustratingly, we see many of them get arrested, released, arrested, released.
So Lil Junebug can go out and shoot at his ops and then be back on the streets the next day. But when a 52-year-old software engineer makes guns in his home from legal parts as a hobby, they try to throw him in jail for 10 to 18 years. What's crazy is that on a federal level, making your own gun is legal. People have been making their own guns for hundreds of years. The Gun Control Act of 1968 allows an unlicensed individual, a regular civilian that doesn't hold a federal firearms license or FFL, to make a non-NFA firearm for personal use, but not for sale or distribution. Taylor was not selling these guns. For crying out loud, he never even shot them. But when Lil AstroTurf goes and actually shoots someone, they treat him like a fucking folk hero. Hell, they do it on social media. If my black ass makes a video about responsible gun ownership, I get shadow banned. But a group of underage kids waving around Glocks with switches on it, talking about shooting at their ops, viral. And then we wonder why there's so much violence in certain communities. You glorify the shit and vilify responsible gun owners. You have more contempt for legal gun owners who are contributing members to society than you do degenerates actually killing people. What kind of message do you think that sends to young people? Be a law-abiding, productive member of society and go to jail, or be a degenerate up and walk the streets with immunity. This is why I say gun control is not about saving lives, it's about control. They need the chaos of violence to justify their continued push for gun control because they can't sell you gun control if there is no gun violence. So they passively, if not actively, facilitate the gun violence in certain areas, then use those stats to scare suburban housewives into voting for more gun control, and then make an example out of any law-abiding gun owner who dares search their rights under the Second Amendment, which is why this judge had the unmitigated gall to fix her mouth to say, do not bring the Second Amendment into this courtroom. It doesn't exist here. Like, what the f? That is the language of a tyrant, not a judge. Saying shit like that should have you tried for treason. But that is where we are in this country, a country where a judge in a state can unilaterally eliminate a constitutional right. Thankfully, we have a legal system where you can appeal your case to higher courts and overturn unconstitutional decisions. But doing this isn't cheap, which is why I put a link to Dexter Taylor's 2A legal fund in the description section of this video. Now, keep in mind, this isn't just about Dexter Taylor. This is about all of our rights under the Second Amendment, because if this case can get to the Supreme Court, not only will this overturn Taylor's conviction, it will set a new legal precedent, thus making it extremely hard for states like New York and judges like Abracadabra, or whatever her name is, from prosecuting law-abiding citizens for exercising their constitutional rights. Guns aren't political. That's why I need your help getting this message to spread on YouTube by clicking the thumbs up button, leaving a comment to let me know what you think of the video, then subscribing to the channel. But most importantly, click that bell symbol. For products featured in this video, click the links in the description.